evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nish Kumar. How are you? Are you all right? What was that? Somebody shouted at the top. Yeah, hi. Who's from Croydon? I'm from Croydon. I am, yeah. I'm a prominent Croydoner. It's the only other two things to come out of Croydon are Kate Moss and the concept of crime. So, great to see you all, ladies and gentlemen, and you, yeah. Of course, it would be the people from Croydon who are shouting. Not doing anything to help our image. It's nice to be here, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Nish. I hope you enjoy the jokes. I've got some jokes to tell you. I hope you enjoy them. If you don't, wow, I am sorry. That will almost certainly have been my fault. You know, at least 60-40 that way round, you know? Because the problem is, that's the problem with comedy. Like, I love being a comedian, and it's a job that I absolutely adore. But it's a strange job, because I might do it to the best of my abilities, and you might not enjoy it. That's the nature of comedy. It's an inherently subjective medium. No two people can agree on what's funny. So if you don't think I'm funny, that's absolutely fine. The only problem I have as a comedian is that if somebody thinks what I'm doing is not funny, it stops being comedy. And there's no other job like that. If you're a builder and you build a wall, people go, that's a good wall, or that's a shit wall. No one says, that is not a wall. You built a bloody duck, mate. What are you thinking? And I like the fact that people have different opinions. I like arguing. I think that's part of what makes being a human being interesting and exciting. I don't like it when people can't justify their opinions, or they do so on spurious grounds. Like, my dad doesn't like rap music. Now, listen, I like rap music, but I know there's a lot of good reasons to not like rap music. Misogyny, homophobia, the needless celebration of wealth. My dad doesn't like rap... That does not normally get a laugh. It's very unusual, people being like, yeah. I love all three of those things. My dad doesn't like rap music because he says it's easy, and then he will prove that by doing a rap. You go, rap music's really easy, Nish. Watch this. My name is Dad, and I'm here to say I'm a really great guy. That's not proof of anything. You can't say something's easy and your evidence is you do it badly. It's like me going, jazz music's really easy. Watch this. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, check out this easy juggling. And I had two different arguments with two separate friends because they didn't go and see 12 Years a Slave. Now, did anyone go and see 12 Years a Slave? Yeah, I liked that movie. I thought it was really good. I mean, by the end, I was crying out of my mouth. I didn't even know that was possible, right? But two of my friends didn't go and see that film. One of my friends said, oh, I'm not going to see that film, Nish. And I said, why not? And he said, because it's not even a good film, which I think is logically interesting. I was like, why? What do you mean it's not a good film? And he said, well, it's just because it's about slavery, isn't it? People just think it's a good film because it's about slavery. It's not even a good film. People are just tricked because it's about slavery. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Right, I'm pretty sure 12 Years a Slave did really well because at least some people think it's a good film. In fact, I know that's the case because I don't think 12 Years a Slave would have won all the Oscars it had won if it had starred Eddie Murphy as 4 different slaves and a Chinese man for no reason. And then one of my other friends just went, I don't need to see that film, Nish. And I said, why not? And he said, oh, because I already know slavery was bad? It wasn't a twist ending. It's not like the rest of us got to the ending and went, oh, my God, slavery was the bad guy. This is like the Sixth Sense. And I went to see 12 Years a Slave, and, you know, I really enjoyed it. But at the end, I made a slight faux pas in my mind, right? Because at the end of the movie, the lights came back up, and everybody was sort of recovering from it, and, you know, it was a very moving film. And then there's a girl behind me who was still crying, and this girl was black. And I was like, oh, my God, this is incredible. She must have had some kind of personal connection to this film. I'm so moved that I'm here to share what is clearly an important moment in her cultural and personal development. And then I realised that's the most patronising thing I've ever thought in my life. And I know it is, because I remember how I felt a couple of years ago when people just kept coming up to me going, dude, Slumdog. Slumdog Millionaire, I have tasted your pain. So I like the fact that people can sort of agree and disagree about different things, but like I say, you just have to think about what the grounds are that you're justifying it on. Like, one of my dad's friends was arguing with me recently, and he said, Nish, everyone your age is really weak. You're a weak generation. Now, there is definitely a good argument to be made on that case, but not the grounds he chose, because he chose to justify that. He said, you're all weak, Nish, and his justification for it was lactose intolerance. It's like, Nish, look how many people your age are lactose intolerant. Back in my day, we fought milk. That's how tough we were. But of course, we all know that that's not how disease and discovery works. The same number of people have always been lactose intolerant. It's just now we know it's called that. 50 years ago, somebody would go to the doctor and be like, doctor, I don't know what's wrong with me. I drink milk all the time and I feel awful. What's wrong with me? And the doctor just go... Ghosts. Right, that was the best guess that they could come up with. So, I'm a British Asian gentleman, and it's a good time to be a British Asian gentleman right now. It's a pretty sweet time, you know? It's pretty good. Like, I really believe that there's nothing I can't do right now that a white person can. I really believe that. There's nothing I can't do that a white person can do. I really believe... Oh, there's one thing I can't do that white people can do, and that's play pranks at an international airport, because... You know, I don't care what you say. That fun is not open to you if you have the voice of Downton Abbey but the face of Homeland. That is not an option. My white friends are always like, Nish, let's have some banter with the customs officials. I say, no, thank you. The only prank I'm playing is let's not get fingered, OK? I walk into airports, my bag in one hand, my shoes in the other. I wear T-shirts that say, I heart the West. Just run up to random white people. You know what sucks? Jihad. I have what's known scientifically as an ethnically ambiguous face. No one really seems to know where I come from, which just means I get searched at customs everywhere. Like, I don't know, like, people just really hedging their bets with me. But generally, you know, things are getting way easier. Things are getting much better. Like, even conversationally, we've moved so far. Conversationally, it's no longer acceptable to do an accent if it's clearly an impersonation of a non-white ethnicity. If you do it, people get really uncomfortable. It's like Benny Hill doing Chinese voices in the 70s. It's seen as something that we just don't sort of do anymore. Apart from one ethnic group, there is one ethnic group we have no problem impersonating for some reason. And that ethnic group is black women from the southern states of America. Because for some weird reason, no matter how liberal a person is, occasionally they'll just go, and you know Mama don't like that. You're like, how is that okay? That is definitely not okay. If I do an Indian accent, people go, Nish, you should not do that, it's crass, it's offensive, and you know Mama don't like that. And if you take nothing away from anything else I say to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let it be this. I think we can all agree that Mama Don't Like That would definitely be the name of that Eddie Murphy remake of 12 Years a Slave. That is almost beyond doubt. I've had a lot of changes in my personal life. I was single for a long time, but I've recently taken a woman. I'm almost certain that is not how you're supposed to phrase that, right? I was single for a long time because I was always quite sexually reticent. Like, when I was at school, I didn't really kiss girls, largely because I was busy getting some excellent A-level results. Did very well. Thank you. Yes, correct. I was that kind of kid. And I'm aware that there might be some people in here who kissed loads of people and did really well in their exams. And let me just take this opportunity to say this. Go fuck yourself. No one likes you. I was not the most sporty kid, to be honest. When I was at school, the only sport I really played to any distinction was cricket. I loved playing cricket. I still love playing cricket now, but I loved playing cricket when I was at school. And eventually I won an award for playing cricket. Now, every year they would give out awards for playing cricket that were all pretty self-explanatory. There was best batsman, that's the best batsman. Best bowler, that's the best bowler. Best player, that's the best all-round player. Then there was the award that I won, an award called Clubman of the Year. An award which I've subsequently found out was presented on the criteria of the boy who'd shown the most enthusiasm in the face of, and I quote, an overwhelming lack of ability. So I was quite, you know, I was shy around girls when I was at school, which is fine. It's fine. It's not a problem. The only problem is, if you're shy around people that you're sexually interested in when you're a younger person, you don't make mistakes. And you should make mistakes so you can have some idea about how to talk to these people when you become an adult. So I grew up, because I wasn't really trying, with some bad ideas. About 5 years ago, I became obsessed with the idea that I needed to be more mysterious. I was like, I need to be more mysterious. That's what girls like. Now, yeah, fair Fair enough, OK? Let me explain my reasoning. At the time, I was watching a lot of episodes of the TV show Mad Men. Now, the lead character in Mad Men is Don Draper, and he's really mysterious and attractive. So I was like, well, that's what I'll do. I'll be mysterious, and so I'll become attractive. Now, the key problem here is that Don Draper is played by John Hamm. I am not played by John Hamm. And when I try and be mysterious, it just comes off as threatening. I once said to a woman with no discernible trace of irony, "You have no idea what I'm capable of." Sometimes it wasn't even like I was trying to chat these women up. Like, once I went into this pub and saw this girl I know, like, I'm friends with her, and I went up behind her, put my hands on her shoulders, and went to kiss her on the cheek, and at this point I realised this was not a girl I knew. This was a girl who looked like a girl I knew. Now, that is a retrievable situation. All you have to do is say, "I do apologise, madam. I thought you were someone else. Have a nice day." What you must not do is have your hands on a woman's shoulders, be this close to her face. When she turns around, just go, "Oh, dear." Because you have just scared a woman, ladies and gentlemen. Scared and kind of insulted, to be honest. So I'm in a relationship. The relationship is going well because she's a nice lady, you know. That a nice lady never sounds strong enough, does it? She's a nice lady. She's a solid fellow. If there was one thing I could change about my relationship, and it really would just be one thing. It's a very small thing. It's one thing, very small. It's one thing, it's very small. It's one thing, it's very small. It's one thing, it's one thing. And that thing would be my entire personality, because I really believe that's the last obstacle to us being truly happy, right? My girlfriend and I were in Australia last year, and we were in Sydney, and Sydney's an incredibly beautiful city. It really delivers on its postcard, right? There's a point you can stand in Sydney where you've got the Harbour Bridge on one side and the Opera House on the other side, and you can watch this, you can just stand there and just look at this incredible view. It's really, really beautiful. And I'm there with my girlfriend. We've had this amazing holiday together. We've grown closer as a couple, and we're in this incredible place. Now, that should be a moment of real fundamental existential calm for me, right? But for some reason, at that exact moment, the thought in my head was, this will be one of those things you look back on fondly when you've broken up. Who the hell thinks like that? Who can't experience one moment of joy without immediately thinking, that's one for the sorrow montage? That is weapons-grade pessimism. That's like someone saying, do you think this glass is half full or half empty? And me just replying, does it matter? One day we'll all be dead. And it surprised me. I didn't know I was capable of that sort of volcanic pessimism. It just sort of came out of nowhere. And I said to my girlfriend afterwards, I think I might be quite, you know, quite a pessimistic person. And she was like, yes, you are, Nish. Me and your friends talk about it all the time. And I felt so foolish because I felt like I had this whole sense of who I was as a person, and the more I talked to my girlfriend, the more that turned out to not be the case. I sort of think of myself as a sort of free spirit, an optimistic dreamer who wears his heart on his sleeve on his shirt, and his shirt on his torso, right? Now that I have a girlfriend, she's like, Nish, you were none of those things. You're an introverted pessimist, and frankly, it's quite difficult to be around you a lot of the time. Now, the problem is that for a long time I was single, so my personality was under no real intimate scrutiny. So I basically thought about a person that I would like to be, and then I just pretended I was that person. And because there was no one checking, there was no problem. So I was just walking around being like, I'm a great guy. And the only person there was me who was going, yes, you are, Nish, you are. An absolute legend, you're lucky to have you. And my problem is that if my personality has drifted, that is a serious issue, because I currently believe myself to be the best version of myself that I'd ever been. I think that I've learnt a lot, and I'm acting in a way in which I am really proud. Now, the problem is, clearly, I'm not the best version of myself that I've ever been, and this has happened before. I thought I was the best version of myself that I'd ever been when I was 18 years old. And when I was 18 years old, I was a jet-powered bell end. I used to wear a bandana and call people daddy-o. That's not acceptable. And the other problem is that I have a giant ego. Huge. I know you know, of all people, given what is happening right in front of you, right? I obviously think I'm something of a laugh, clearly. by my choice of profession. But you have no idea the extent to which my ego has got out of hand, right? A couple of days ago, I was having a coffee with my friend, and as I was speaking, I lost my train of thought. And the reason I lost my train of thought is because as I was speaking, in my head, I started thinking, well, I am being very interesting here. I'm so interesting, I'm intellectually stimulating, I'm a great laugh. I'm jealous of people who get to meet me, that's the thing. So, the reason that my girlfriend and I have been out in Australia is I'd been out in Australia doing some gigs. I was doing some gigs at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. Now, the gigs were really fun, which is good because I didn't think they were going to be. Because before I went to do the gigs, there was an incident. Now, a lot of the time when you go to a comedy festival, there's too many comedians to interview, all sort of individually. So what they'll do is they'll send out Q&As. Now, these are all the same questions everyone gets, and they're all like, it's like a standard form that you get sent out. And they're all sort of boring questions like, where are you from, who are your favourite comedians, blah, blah, blah. Then, occasionally, journalists will get creative. I have no idea why they feel the need to ask wacky questions, but they ask some wacky questions. There'll be a question like, oh, if your comedy show was a dog, what kind of dog would it be? I'm so wacky. Maybe I should be a comedian. What? Shut up. Now, I'm filling one of these things out, and I'm happy to do it because I get to go to Australia, and I'm going through one of these questions, and there's also boring questions like, where are you from, who are your favourite comedians? Then, there is a question that's been personalised for me. It's in a different font, so I spot it a mile off. It's clearly been inserted into an existing document. And the question that these people had personalised for me was this: how come Christians are allowed to draw pictures of their prophets and Muslims aren't? To which the obvious answer is, I don't know. My parents are Hindus. I've got no idea why they would think I would know. Now, one of two things has happened here. Either these people have seen that I've got a foreign name and just thought, must be a Muzza, definite Muzza. Nish Kumar is a classic Muzza name. Or they think we have non-white people meetings where we assemble, set the non-white agenda for the year, and then retire to a screening room where we watch a DVD of Boys in the Hood. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I was doing a gig in a part of the UK which I will not name, and there was a group of sort of nervous-looking middle-aged white people here, and it was a three-sided room. So there were two banks of seats here which were empty, apart from one black guy who was sat here, presumably because they were keeping an eye on him. And this guy obviously decided he was going to have some fun, right? Because when I used the phrase non-white people meetings, he turned to make sure that they were all looking at him, and then in full view of all of these people, just looked at me and went... You have not lived until you've seen a room full of middle-aged white people simultaneously shit their pants, right? So, obviously, I didn't know how to answer this question because this is a contentious subject, and, you know, I don't want to upset anybody. But I was offended. Like, I didn't think they had the right to ask me those kind of questions. My Muslim friends would know how to answer that question. So I felt very uncomfortable. But it was hard for me to articulate my discomfort because the next question was, oh, if your comedy show was grass, would you feed it to a horse? And I was like, you can't jump back into whimsy after you've just asked me a serious theological question. But then, luckily, there was a little scope for discussion, because the last question wasn't really a question. It was a task. They had given us the first half of a joke, and we had to complete the second half. They'd given us the feed line, we had to write the punchline. You're supposed to complete this in a way that shows your distinctive style of humour so people will come and watch you do the show. And the feed line that they'd given us, the first half of the joke, was a book walks into a bar and sees a bookcase. And this is how I finished the joke. A book walks into a bar and sees a bookcase. The book says, hey, bookcase! How come Christians are allowed to draw pictures of their prophets and Muslims aren't? And the bookcase said, I don't know. I am a bookcase. As such, have no idea about Islamic theology. I assume you've asked me because I'm a brown bookcase? In which case, you can go to hell. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been an absolute delight. My name is Nish Kumar. Thank you very much. Good night.